Florida has a serious hurricane problem. Hurricane Irma, Michael, Andrew, Katrina, Ian, and as of lately, they've been hit with the 1-2 punch of Helene and Milton. And let me tell you, these hurricanes can be devastating. There's deaths that come from it. There's people that lose their pet, or just get lost, like blown away because they couldn't hold on to them, or they end up dying. That's how it ended up. A lot of snakes and those anacondas got spread out through, especially the Everglades. Not only people dumping them out there, but also the hurricanes. Pet shop owners, before they had the better building codes, these animals would just get, the building would lose everything and they would get set free. There's also, of course, the homes that are rather devastating. Your roof blows off, everything gets soaked, flooding's huge. And really, really sad is oftentimes personal memories get destroyed, in particular photos. Photos, these beautiful albums people create, they get flooded, they get destroyed, water just soaks on them, because sometimes it could even be days or weeks till you're allowed back in your home, and by then there's just no saving them. And the problem is they will tell you to evacuate. If it's mandatory, of course, go. But if you're kind of on the fence about evacuating, it's expensive. It's very expensive, and it's a huge inconvenience. And even if you can stay with someone else, it's a hardship. And you might be thinking, but it's your life. No, just the problem is there's been so many false alarms.
False alarm.
You're like, great, I just evacuated, spend a small fortune in gas, getting to the state or two away, and a hotel to find out it missed us. So there's another huge problem. It's very expensive to evacuate. And then you come home, your food's gone. Just losing all the food in your freezer and refrigerator can be expensive. That's about all that happened, thank goodness, at my condo. Of course, I knew the hurricane was coming. I quit buying groceries. Some of my neighbors said they didn't. I don't know why. Anyways, I just quit buying groceries, but I still had a loss of food. When you go a few days, you don't want to risk it and then get sick. So for some, especially, when you have kids and a family, it's probably harder for you. You might have a whole entire refrigerator and freezer full that, you just lost all of that. You come home from this expensive evacuation to find out all your food went bad too. It's just gets really expensive. It's definitely a hardship. And there's just so much devastation to these hurricanes. So yeah, my building, a condo, did not have any damage. That I knew. I was pretty certain. I mean, if our building got wiped out, all Florida probably would have. However, we did lose power. But a good thing about staying in a condo is most of them will have a generator in the social room. You can go down there, charge your cell phone, charge your laptop, internet. There's a TV. You could get caught up on the news, and AC to cool down. Even we have a little small kitchen. So if you had some frozen food you're getting worried about, you go down the kitchen and microwave it or cook it on the stove. So it was great. So I was down there, I was charging my laptop, trying to keep up with a little bit of work. I had a neighbor of mine came up to me, and she's like, I gotta go check on my storage unit. I'm afraid of flooded. And I said, I'm not, I'll go with you just in case you need, some muscle. And she's like, all right, thanks. So we go down there. First off, you could see the outside of the building had flooded, or the water, that had come up. There was a line. I took a photo of it, how many feet it had flooded. We're like, this isn't going to be good. We get inside the storage unit. We could see the hallways where they tried to mop up the dirt and the muck, and we could see another line. I was like, oh no. We get to her storage unit, and it wasn't as bad as we were thinking after seeing everything walking up to it. But unfortunately, she did have damage. Fortunately, she had insurance on her items in there, so that was good. I don't know how much they're going to pay her out, if it's going to equal, because a lot of it, again, was personal stuff, memories, photos, things like that. she just had a lot of personal things that really meant a lot to her, and some got ruined. And so we started pulling everything out. There's some water on the floor, and we ended up filling a dumpster. This dumpster on the property got blown into the corner of the lot. There was basically nothing in it when we got there. We were one of the first to get there before other people came to go through their storage, and we filled the dumpster. That's how much damage she had, and we considered it minimal. The wind had also come on top of her unit. There's like a mesh up there, and just whipped her stuff around inside. So a few things got broken, but it was primarily water damage. Historically, there have been some hurricanes that have been more devastating than others, which has led to stricter building codes, insurance policy, and hurricane preparedness. Ugh, it almost feels like a hurricane today. Someone out there, I don't know if... Anyways, Hurricane Andrew, 1992, came in, struck South Florida as a Category 5 hurricane, devastating to particularly Homestead, Miami, and the surrounding areas. It had winds up to 165 miles per hour, which resulted in massive destruction, making it, with 165 miles per hour, it was making it one of the most destructive hurricanes in U.S. history. Whew. It's windy out there. Then we had, in 2017, Hurricane Irma came in as a Category 4. Irma's damage was primarily from storm surge, along with violent winds, and it has been the strongest hurricane observed over the Atlantic Ocean. Next, Hurricane Michael, striking as a Category 5 in 2018. Michael devastated parts of Florida, particularly the Panhandle, with winds up to 160 miles per hour. Let me tell you, we had, when Milton just came through, winds up to about 100, and I had hurricane shutters. I heard it at 2:30 in the morning. Of course, it came in at night. I have never been so scared. I quickly got dressed. I don't know where I was going, but I was not going to get blown away in my pajamas, that's for sure. I could not imagine 160 miles per hour. Okay, who remembers Hurricane Charlie back in 2004? Came in as a Category 4 hurricane on the southwest part of Florida. It was a compact but very intense hurricane, causing devastating damage throughout southwest Florida. Now here's one, Hurricane Donna, 1960, way before my time. I mean, not just my time moving to Florida, I mean my time. I can only imagine a hurricane back in 1960. It literally went up, straight up through Florida. It started in the Keys and went basically right up the middle of Florida, hitting many of Florida's counties and cities. Because back then in 1960, we didn't have the building codes or the preparedness or even the ample amount of warning like we have now. It did come in as a Category 5, and the worst part was how much damage it did throughout the state. The hurricanes have a profound impact on Florida's economy, especially in the real estate and insurance industry. How about property damage and then the real estate value? Who's going to purchase a home knowing that it's in a flood area and it's had flood damage several times, still pay full price for it? That's a real big problem for homeowners that are in known flood zones. Then there's the insurance cost and availability. Happens these hurricanes keep coming through, these insurance companies keep bailing out on us, and then there's less competition, so the ones that are left increase their rates. And then there's tourism. Tourism's a big part of Florida. These businesses rely on tourists. And when a hurricane comes through with these devastating effects, nobody's gonna come here and vacation when there's hotels and closed and restaurants closed and homes wiped out, flooding, you can't even get through some streets, lights out at intersections. Businesses have to stay closed, mainly due to they don't have power or maybe their roof collapsed. It's just really, really bad for tourism too. Now, as a result of all this, Florida building codes are among some of the strictest in the U.S. These codes have evolved throughout these hurricanes every year, and they keep updating the codes and new policies. So before Hurricane Andrew in 1992, the building codes were more localized, with codes varying slightly from town to town. The destruction caused by Andrew was a huge wake-up call. After Andrew, Florida overhauled its building codes. And these changes included stricter roofing codes, shutters, and anchoring structures. In 2002, Florida Building Code, FBC, adopted a statewide building code, the Florida Building Code. It includes requirements for high-impact glass, reinforced doors, and roofing materials, and techniques that can withstand high winds. And the FBC updates every 3 years to incorporate new technology and innovations. For instance, after Irma and Michael, further revisions were made to include debris impact, water intrusion, structural integrity. And there are some things homeowners can do to prepare for these hurricanes to protect their homes and their families, such as installing storm shutters, reinforcing doors, making sure all exterior doors are reinforced, secure and seal all cracks in around your windows, clean the gutters and the drainage. You definitely want the water to flow away from your home. If you have all these drainages and gutters clogged up, it'll just sit there and pile up, and that's never good. Trim your trees and remove the loose objects. When you trim the tree branches, make sure they're removed in plenty of time before the hurricane. You don't want these flying projectiles to be laying around in your yard during a hurricane. Create an emergency kit, making sure you have water and some non-perishable food items, and also go over your insurance. If you don't have flood insurance, I highly suggest you think about getting it if you live here in Florida, whether it's required or not. Usually if it's not required, it can be extremely affordable, maybe only like $300 a year. Definitely worth looking into, because with the rising tides and the climate changes, it's predicted that hurricanes are not going to become more frequent, may become more intense over the years. And this is just a prediction. You may end up being in a flood zone eventually. Matter of fact, I had a friend that lived on the river years ago. He had like $1 million home, was on the river with a pool. And one of the hurricanes, the water came about this far from coming into his home. And guess what? He didn't have flood insurance. It wasn't required. For $300, that's all it was at the time, he got flood insurance. So my advice is, before you purchase a home here in Florida, check to see if it's in a flood zone, or has it ever flooded, even if it's not in a flood zone. Is flood insurance required? But again, it still could have flooded. If so, why? Was it the blocked gutters and the drainage? Did the city not flush out the canals in time and that backed up everything? Also, maybe seriously consider a condo. I absolutely love living in a condo. I love the condo life. Not only do you have the sense of community when something goes out, I've been through hurricanes, trapped in my home for days with no power, and I could just see my neighbors down the road. It's a very lonely, scary situation to be in, especially if you're single. With a condo, you have the generator, more than likely, and some generators even power the whole entire building. So your unit, it kicks right on. You don't even have to worry about no AC or food, losing food in your particular condo. I did enjoy being able to go downstairs during this last hurricane, talk to my neighbors, see the news, see what's happening, getting updates, charging my equipment, and feeling somewhat comfortable. Well, I hope this video helped. I would love to hear any comments or suggestions you have to surviving Florida's hurricanes. Till next time.